this is me fitting my Hydrovane to my boat. This is me drilling holes for it to fit. Hang on a minute, let's go back a few stages and see how we got to this point. I bought this Hydrovane off of a friend of mine at the boatyard. He'd had it stored in his shed for a couple of years and never actually fitted it. You can see it's quite an old one. It had a wooden vane which had warped, so I had to make a couple of new ones of those. I've made one a third smaller for heavy weather. Whether it works or not, I don't know. I also had to make this block, which is how these were fitted, on thick wooden blocks to the backs of your boat to do with the angles, etc. So I made this, coated it in a couple of layers of fiberglass, and then painted it and sprayed it to make it look nice. I'm now having to mark where I need to drill the holes. As you can see, because of the angle, this distance here is going to be wider than the distance at the aluminium base. So for me to get a decent measurement, I need to somehow make a pattern. So I'm just using basically a piece of paper, A4 paper, and I'm just going to tap the back of it, which will actually cut a hole on the bolt to show where it goes. So having done that to all four, the paper fits nice and snug, and I can then just score down the edges to make sure that it is exactly the right shape and angle for the Hydrovane. The last thing you want is your Hydrovane to be wonky on the back of your boat. I did this several times to make sure that everything, you don't want to drill holes in your boat twice. So yeah, I took a lot of time making sure that this was correct. Right, let's take it off and try it on the back of the boat. Let's see how it goes. So you'll see two bits of like an L shape of black electrical tape. This was fitted while the boat was in the water, and it was to measure the water line up to the correct place for this to fit, from the instructions of Hydrovane. They actually said to fit it in the water. I wasn't keen on that, on the grounds that I'd end up having to go diving to catch all the bits I dropped. So I did all the measurements in the water and then fitted it when the boat came up onto the hard standing. Moving inside, I need to get into the aft cabin now and remove some of the furniture to see the back of the boat. This stuff was never built to come out, it was built to stay in. So I don't want to move all the top cabinetry. I only want to move the bits I need to. From my measurements, I need to move this one unit at the bottom. Unfortunately, it does go behind this unit at the side, so I'm not sure. I don't really want to take all that out as well. I'm going to have to take this piece off, and then I'll use a reverberating saw just to cut through the heads of the screws. A couple of hours of hard labour, and I managed to get it off. I didn't do any damage. The top bit of that unit that you saw there wasn't varnished when it went in, so that's not where I've damaged it. It just happened to be like that. So now I can have a proper look and see where I'm going to put this unit. I can see from the shadow that I'm going to have to build some sort of piece of timber to go at this point, just to they've already got a strengthening plate in there, as you can see in the middle, and I need to just carry that on along across to add strength to the side. 90% of my Hydrovane is actually going to be on that support that's already there, but I've made this out of marine ply. I've coated it in fiberglass. As you can see, it's not 100% set yet. It is winter, the heating's on in the boat, but trying to get fiberglass cures in these temperatures is not easy. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just needs to go in there and be protected. moving back outside, I've just noticed that I'm going to drill holes right through my logo. So what we'll do is we'll just take this pattern off a sec, move the logo over, and then we'll drill our holes. So I drilled pilot holes in so I could see where I was going, and now I'm just going in with the right size drill bit. As you can see, it's even though you could see through the fiberglass, it's really quite thick. That's one thing about these old boats, they were built to last. There's no going back now. So here you can see I'm bringing the Hydrovane up on deck. It's a heavy bit of kit, so for me to get it in the right position in that lot, I'm going to utilise my davits, and I'm going to use them to actually take the weight for me, and then it'll be easier for me to just slide it into place. That's the theory anyway. This is the tricky bit. It actually looks a lot more precarious than it is. So as you can see, I've brought the other line over from the davit, and that's pulled it more into the middle, so it's actually quite nicely lined up now to go on the stern of the boat in the right position. So it's then just a case for me just to slide up into place, give it a good push, and on she goes. As easy as that. I actually put her on and off 3 or 4 times, making sure everything lined up, putting backing plates in, making sure the bolts were long enough, before finally fixing it using Sikaflex to make sure that it was completely 100% watertight. So there you can see it actually doesn't have the Sikaflex on at that point. That is just one of the fittings. This was the backing plate that I made for it as well. I don't think that's going anywhere. Seriously over-engineered probably. It was 5mm aluminium. And there it is, finished. It's amazing what that little rudder can do. This unit can be used to steer if you lose your main rudder. I've actually done that. Not lose my rudder, but used it to make sure I could steer the boat with it. There we go. That is my Hydrovane working. We have 11 knots of wind, and she is sailing us on a true course at the moment. Still bits of tweaking to do, but very happy. Where to go?